Thank you very much, and a very good afternoon to you all. I would like to say a big thank you. It's not easy to be in a hall like this on a Saturday afternoon, and so thank you all so much for joining us here this afternoon. Like Kamini said yesterday, I have a similar confession to make. I'm a Sikh, but till pretty recently, a few years ago, I must confess that while I followed some of the rituals, not all, as you can see and observe yourself, I certainly didn't particularly understand many of the founding tenets and principles. And it's only more recently, and actually through what led to the founding of this event, that I began to understand a bit more. And I think this session is going to be very interesting for all of us as this conversation happens between our two speakers about an exploration of Sikhism through its pioneer, perhaps creator, Guru Nanak, who everything that I've read about that individual surely suggests he was quite extraordinary. Way ahead of his time, and he lived in a time that was extraordinarily fractious, divisive, like today, but actually came across it with some amazing principles of equality, fraternity, and all the things we've been listening to so far. So without further ado, I'd like to introduce our speakers. We have Nikky-Guninder Kaur Singh from the US. She's the endowed Crawford Professor at Colby College and has come all the way for this, and I thank you very much. We're looking forward to listening to you. And in conversation with her is Mandeep Rai, whom I met 15 years ago, actually at Davos, where she was a young global leader. And since then, she's gone on to write a book on values, and I think in some ways that also is going to be very pertinent to today. So welcome to both of you.
I almost feel like covering my head because we just heard a shabad. And that shabad means, Okhi kari na dekhendei. It means, God, let me not see a difficult day or a difficult moment. And it's quite a poignant shabad or hymn. I say hymn just so that you understand, but it's not a hymn, it's a shabad. Because today is the Sikh New Year. Yes. And we were meant to be speaking tomorrow, and then we deliberately changed it and shifted it to today. So imagine, at this moment in time, 558 years ago, this faith was founded. So for us to be here on the New Year feels very auspicious, doesn't it, Ji?
It's really an honor. This is a double honor to be here on Baisakhi Day, to be celebrating with everybody. Thank you, Kamini, Vindi, and Sanjoy. It's been a real treat, and my Ravina. I cannot thank you for your hospitality, your generosity to invite me. It's a real treat to be with you all on this very wonderful day, and to be with my dear Mandeep. I've only seen her book, I've never met her, so this is a great treat, and how the values of Guru Nanak are found here on every page. It's really remarkable. So as we said, she just said, the Sikh tradition, S-I-K-H, was founded by Guru Nanak in 1469. That is his birth. And my book is called The First Sikh. And to me, that first is very significant because he brought something on the Indian horizon. And I just want to start out with a passage from the very eminent Sir Muhammad Iqbal from Pakistan, the national poet. Here is a Muslim praising the glory of Guru Nanak, just as a prelude. फिर उठी अखीर सदा तौहीद की पंजाब से, हिंद को एक मर्द एक कामल ने जगाया ख्वाब से. So he's praising Guru Nanak in 15th century India for bringing light ages once more from the Punjab. Fir uthi akhir sada tawheed ki. Tawheed, which is such an important Islamic concept, precept, the unicity of the divine one. that is brought up by Nanak, reinforced, was finally decreed. A perfect person awoke India from its sleep. So I don't know, I just quite, it's a really wonderful summation of Guru Nanak. There he came, he brought something new, and that's why the first Sikh is very significant, because it's really what people often confuse him, or scholars, when you study Sikhism. Oh, it's a syncretism of Hinduism and Islam. Oh, he's a follower of Kabir. Oh, he's a follower of somebody. And I don't think that does justice to it, because there's something very profoundly his own original that he felt. There was a divine power that he connected. And it was an experience. An experience was of the divine one, which is everywhere, shared by the common ground. So can I just take 5 minutes? Because when I was traveling in the plane last night, I was thinking of Guru Nanak. And in the Japji, which is the Sikhs have the Guru Granth Sahib, which is 1430 portfolio pages. The first hymn is Guru Nanak's Japji.
Do we say pages or ang?
Well,
Pages?
pages in English and ang in...
So almost like the limbs of Guru, the limbs,
Yes.
right, is seen. The limbs of the Guru is what, we wouldn't even call it a book. We would call it a Guru, that we bow to.
Guru, but it's also the Granth Sahib. It's
Yes.
also the book. It's the textures coming together.
Yes.
The Granth itself, the weaving together, and all these different 31, different rags and so forth.
And do you know what the Japji is, before we go on to explain it? It's like the first prayer. Every Sikh, first thing in the morning, as you wake up, you would say 5 prayers, and this is the first one.
This is
Japji
this is
Sahib.
the opening of the Guru Granth Sahib. So it's the first quintessential Sikh philosophy, metaphysics is said there. There, towards the end of this opening inaugural hymn in the Guru Granth Sahib, Guru Nanak gives 5 stages, and these are the spiritual stages. And at a time where we have so much confusion, turmoil, divided and polarized world, these 5 make a lot of sense. And I just want to share with you what they are. So these are the 5 stages. The first one is the realm of dharma. That is the word for religion, you can say. That is, the root is really from the dharti, from the earth. So Guru Nanak is bringing our attention to this world, to where we are. Rati, Rutti, Tithi, Var. So it's because what was the time of the day, night, moment. So he's making us very conscious. Where are we right now? Every second is very important. So to be conscious of where we are situated, and that's the starting point. And this is the world here. So it is what he's doing. He's bringing our consciousness to this world, because we have to be responsible to one another, live our civic duties. So this is a tradition where it was not to leave the world and renounce the world and find spirituality elsewhere, but in this very world, being married, being a student, being a brother, being a sister, being a companion. So so it's very interesting, and this world is very diverse, he says. So he's bringing, so instead of taking us to the heavens, it's here, earth.
It means don't go into the mountains and pray and meditate, but actually live in right in your
That's a
daily
starting
life.
point.
Right.
And from here, you go into the second realm, which is that of knowledge. I'm at a liberal arts college, I'm a professor, I teach, and I want people to know everything. And that's what Guru Nanak is saying. Look at it, how many planets, how many constellations, how many languages, how many political systems, how many kings. He's really taking count of diversity. We have to see the world. This young woman went to 101 countries. How much did she learn? What did she accomplish? It's phenomenal. And Guru Nanak was a traveler too.
Most traveled, right?
But
So many udasiyan.
Yes, exactly. North, south, east, west. So the second one is really to gain knowledge of the world, the external world, sciences and AI today and all that you do, Kamini, and so forth. So it's learning about the world. And then the third stage is the realm of aesthetics, Saramkhand. Because without the aesthetic, without the impact of that knowledge, it is useless. Without if you don't have the rasa, if you don't have the impact, all this mental knowledge is sheer drama. He
But
says.
what do you mean by that? Because this is your latest book about aesthetics. What do
Yes.
we mean by
So
that?
aesthetics is really when you absorb ras. The whole thing is ape rasya, ape ras, ape ravana.
I
Where
mean the essence of something.
Yes, no, but also making that knowledge, that word that you see around, absorbing it, having an impact, having something effect, not just at the cerebral level, abstract, 2 + 2 =
So
4.
embody it.
It's exactly. And but what happens here, it's very interesting. This is not the realm of knowledge. Knowledge you are gaining the outside world. But in this one, in the aesthetic world, it's Saram Khand ki Bani Roop. It's a realm of beauty. And what happens here is Surat, Mat, Man, Buddhi are chiseled. So all these epistemological things that we think of, in this realm, they are chiseled, they are refined. You become like the gods and the Siddhs and so forth. So it's really an absorption of that knowledge. So not just left there. So earth, where we are, location,
And your presence.
knowledge,
Yeah.
and here we it's a realm of art. What happens, we were just talking about art earlier, Michelangelo and Beethoven, what they're doing. So it's kind of making
Becoming
it
really refined.
exactly, making it a part. And then you go and work. The fourth realm is that of action, karma khand. So that's where after saram comes karam, and that's when that's when you really work. And he
And
did
the
a lot.
honest living is
Honest,
even more important.
absolutely. But that's to work after you have gained all that. And in this realm, women like Sita, Tithe Sito, Sita Mema, these people are never, nobody can deceive them. They live truthfully. Why? Because they have the one inside them. They live with the consciousness, the awareness of that one infinite one. And then you move on to the final realm, Satkhand, which is the realm of truth. This is infinite. And constellations and spheres and galaxies, unending, infinity it is. So what Nanak is doing is bringing us from a very particular location, where am I, who am I with, to taking us to that world beyond. And so there's a constant kind of a dialectic between the immediate and the finite and the infinite, and the two are always in correlation. And I think that's really kind of a message that's very, very important for us today, because we are so we don't pay attention, and infinity does something, because otherwise we are very insular and we become very subject, object, very dualistic living, and this kind of opens us up. So those 5 I wanted to share with you, and thank you for giving me this opportunity.
No, I'm really, yeah, exactly. 5 is so significant. So, yes, capitulated it from the moment, from from your breath, basically, from the moment, of that presence all the way upwards. Now, how do we, as individuals, actually do that? Are we being asked to do the same with these stages? Are we meant to be going up in these stages? Are we meant to practice this in our lives, as in have, our 20s to gain knowledge, our 40s to work, our 60s to then go into the next realm? Is this?
That's a really lovely question. No. Because he was not into the stages. That's Varna Ashram Dharma. You have different stages and you go through. No, this is at every point. You're working, be conscious of what, that the infinite is within, the divine. Once you know, your attitudes change if you know God is within you. The infinite is within me. Most of the time we think God is out there, out in the heavens. And this is pulling that infinite, the divine, in each and every body, in every heart. Kat andar vase, each heart palpitates with the one. So when we acknowledge that, our actions are different. So it's not at a different stage. So it's simultaneous. It's all coming together.
So at the moment, like the world feels very divided, right? Especially in the last few weeks, but actually the last few years, you could say even it's getting worse and worse and worse, it feels. Now, how did Guru Nanak Dev Ji, at that time, when there was also so much division, at that time in India, the Mughals had just come in, there had been, Buddhists, Brahmins, it was such a cosmopolitan, multi-layered, secular space. How did they find, how much was this message of oneness really carried through? Did people really buy it?
He saw people around him, and just as you said, there is Buddhist schools, Jains, yogis, Muslim Sufis, and he met with people. Met with people, Mandeep, just what you did, traveled greatly, and he's talking with people, and at a very deep level. You know, he visited khankas, he visited mosques, he went to the Hindu temples, he went to Varanasi, wherever. Can you imagine in those days? And he did it on foot. And who was his companion? Muslim Mardana, his childhood friend.
Yes.
And Mardana would play the rabab, and Guru Nanak would burst into sublime poetry. And that's his gift, the poetry that he gave us. So you're absolutely right. You know, it is the time. He actually, in his verses in Guru Granth Sahib, we come across where he mentions Babur coming into the country, invading India.
Yes.
But a very important point he makes, and we often ignore, it's like, oh, Muslim Babur came and destroyed Hindustan, India. Guru Nanak does not say that. He says Babur came, yes, but to kill his Muslim lodhis, his Muslim brothers. So it's not religion which is at the heart of our divisions, but it is human greed. Babur wanted the territory. He wanted the riches of India. And that's a real wisdom we need to keep in mind. What do? We make our own propensities, our greed and lust and anger and so forth, we make it into religion. And that's where the world's problems lie. And Guru Nanak's in Babar Vani, that's what it's called, Jadvand Deve Pai. You know, it's greed that pits brother against brother. So these are really important, you know, wisdom that we really need to take heed of. And unfortunately, not too many people know about Guru Nanak. And I'm very grateful to you for kind of bringing, you know, the Sikh teachings into this forum where we need interfaith. And Guru Nanak was one of the leading. There was Akbar that I remember where he had the Deen-e-Ilahi, and we have Guru Nanak where he went from, you know, met with people and engaged. It's not, he never put anybody down. With the Sufis, there are beautiful exchanges. You know, he meets with the Sufi, and they're both kind of enchanted with each other. And the Sufi's disciple comes and says, oh, he's totally, what happened to you, master? You know, you're just so pink and blushing and so forth. And he says, Aaj Khudai ka lal milya. So he had met Guru Nanak. It was Khuda's own son that he had met, you know. And that's why he was, so at that level, you know, it was a real meaningful encounter. It's not telling people, hey, my religion is better, what often we end up doing in this world, you know.
There was never a moment of that. There was never a moment of us and them. So he's really talking about Babur as someone who's projecting tyranny. But we all have that, as you said, the five. Guru Nanak Dev Ji explicitly speaks about greed, lust, anger. All of these are within us. And so really he's kind of breaking that down, right? Now, I wonder, is there a moment in time when you felt, I did a very like sej part, which means like read the Guru Granth Sahib Ji very, very, very slowly. It took me 5 years. And each day I would extract a different value from the ang that we were talking about. Now, but actually, if you look at the Guru Granth Sahib Ji, it's been written by 6 different gurus, and Guru Nanak Dev Ji hasn't sat and written this as such. In fact, probably you're gaining a lot of this knowledge from his Janam Sakhis, from stories about their lives. Is that the case, or how are you understanding our first Sikh? Where did that come from?
To be honest with you, it is from his own Bani.
Okay.
Because history, I don't know. I don't, you know, I took a course in grad school at UPenn on the historians, and, you know, we think they're objective, but nobody's really objective. So this one it's his own poetry. And you get a lot, his revelation.
From their poetry.
From every little word. And actually the Janam Sakhis, what do? They are also presenting the Guru Granth Sahib, the verses, Guru Nanak's compositions that are being staged in different, so it's a kind of a hermeneutics of his Bani So there's a real correlation.
So you're gaining this from...
His own verse, that's where I get it.
Yes, and the whole Sri Guru Granth Sahib Ji is written in verse, it's written in poetry, and it's completely lyrical. So here you have a complete mystic, a philosopher, who's then conveying this through poetry. Is there one particular poem that has always resonated with you or that you always come back to?
I guess every day depends on...
Every day. So
there's no...
well, I would just talk about the everyday, the fact that we open the scriptures every day and there is literally a new kind of message, hukum of the day through all these poems. And today's message was of newness. That yesterday, whatever yesterday was, it does not matter. Today's a fresh day. Quite apt, given it's the new year.
I left home yesterday from Maine, and I opened every morning I open.
Every morning to get the hukum.
And what I got, hukum, it's all at random. But you know,
it's not really random. You think it's random.
Yeah, but it fits in, perfectly. And Santa ke karaj aap khloya, har kam karavan aya ram, the one is always there for your deeds, is standing there helping you out. And I really needed it. Traveling is very anxiety-provoking, so I don't know how this young lady managed going to 101 countries. I could barely make it across the Atlantic. But they are very pertinent. And actually, you can get the same one a month later, and it'll speak to you. And
in a
it's
different way.
It's kind of,
yes.
Because it's sheer poetry. It's not a narrative that you're reading, and it hits us. And that's what poetry is. What did Aristotle say? We don't read history that's done. Prose is done. Whereas poetry, you can read and reread, and this is all lyrical poetry. And actually, in today's world, we need it. Just think how much is going on. We were just talking about it, how kids cannot focus. It's just, there's so much. We are bombarded with so much. And poetry demands attention. We want to give time to the words, to the silences between the words. It brings us to
and it
some...
slows you down.
Slows you down, exactly, Mandeep, exactly.
Yeah.
If I were to read my favorite verse, will I? Appe rasiya, ap ras, appe ravanhar, appe hove cholada, appe sej patar. Ape machi machli, ape pani jal, ape jal madkana, ape andar lal. Ape bahbid rangula sakhiye mera lal, nit rave suhagani, dekh hamara hal.
You are everything, that it's you. You're the fish. You're the ruby in the fish. You're the water. You're the ocean. You're the river. It's you.
You're everything. So that one is not so, it would be sacrilegious if we were to say, oh my gosh, the divine is here. Everything is the divine and beyond. And there's a really, one of my favorite verses, which I like in today's world to be in this, pluralistic world, divided world, it really makes a lot of sense. Jah jah dekha tah jyot tumhari, tera roop kaneha. Wherever I turn, I see your light. What kind of a form you have, what magic it is. Ikat roop pare parchanna. Ikat roop, the same form, extends everywhere. Koi na kisi jeha. Yet no two things are alike. So in a way, he's talking about unicity. But it's not homogenization. It's not making everything one. Everything is different. No two things are alike. And I think it's a uniqueness, the diversity that we need to celebrate and not kind of make it. And now what is our world becoming? So homogenized. And he gives each, in an ant, the ocean, the skies, the planets, he, she, just as you said, the fish, ruby, everything has its uniqueness, and that's what we need to celebrate. And it's a message of joy.
And so really, seeing the light within and seeing the light in every single atom, every single being, every single form.
Absolutely.
What a joyous way to see the world, right? Like, how many of you actually knew about Guru Nanak or have read anything about Guru Nanak before?
Oh, very
okay, maybe half. Brilliant. And how many of you has this hit and that you didn't know anything? Okay. So you can understand that this philosophy has now touched about 25 to 30 million people in the world. And it's one of those few faiths that doesn't say that you should ever convert. You should never necessarily convert someone into your faith, or you don't even convert out of your faith. Because why would you, right? If everything's one, then we're all the same. Is that essentially the essence of it?
Yes, one sparkles through each of us.
Yeah.
And we should try to recognize that. See yourself in everyone. Recognize yourself. This is, again, a very important moral for us.
Yes.
You know, like we never, you are the other, you know, we never see, just to make sure that you are me. I'm recognized. I think that's actually, they cited these words for me. They're going to do something in Assisi. And I had proposed this verse, and these organizers really loved it, and they wanted me to recite it in the Gurmukhi. And so it really jibed with them, that how this world today needs that we recognize ourselves in everyone. That's Guru Nanak's great, I think, maxim, so to say, if we can put it into practice.
So firstly, I want to thank Gamini, Vindi, Sanjoy for putting two women on the stage at a time. Yeah, exactly. At a time when stages are so often full of male energy. And I think this is right? Well, I have to tell you that in the last few years, the situation for women has, I always thought that our world would progress. But really, the last few years have shown me that's not the case. The world is rewinding, if you will, is falling back. So, for example, global CEOs, women were about 30% of companies were run by women. Just in 2023, it's now dropped to less than 9, 8, 7%. And I mention this because even more poignant is the message of Guru Nanak Dev Ji, because they were one of the few at a time when sati was happening, which meant that if a woman lost her husband in India at the time, she would also think, well, I might as well die, what else can I do? And she would put herself on the funeral pyre at the same time. And there were so many other forms and practices where women were often treated as second class, and now again still. So how does Guru Nanak Dev Ji elevate women? And how is it so obvious that when women equality, they make it it's so obvious and they make it so clear? So, for example, they talk about things like the menstrual cycle is mentioned in our Gurbani, right?
Nanak does.
Yeah.
Why call her, what's polluted about it? That's, if women didn't have their period, there would be no procreation, there would be no future generations. So it's that whole thing about untouchability. What do we touch and what is untouchable? Pure, pollution. These were very, very stringent in his times, and he wanted to overcome that. And women are, when you read the poetry, all of it, whether it's the first guru or even the ninth or any of the poets, by the way, we also need to keep in mind that the Guru Granth Sahib is the center of Sikh life. We bow in front of it. There are no idols. There are no images. There are no icons. The Guru Granth Sahib is it. We bow in front of it. And Guru Nanak is the founder. His verse, as we said, the Japji is the first one. He's the inaugural, and everybody kind of fits into it. And this text that we highly revere has not only the Sikh gurus, but also Muslim saints and Hindu saints, people who were, considered out of the, the untouchables and so forth. People are included, Namdev and others, and there's also Kabir, of course, but, carpenters and, people who were from the lowest caste, they are included in the Guru Granth Sahib. So that is kind of applying Guru Nanak's ideal, of oneness and plurality into the Guru Granth Sahib itself. That's what the following gurus did.
I just want to clarify, is that so that Q&A is included within that time? So as in we should now shift to an audience Q&A at this point? Up to us as to how we spend our last, oh my goodness. My God, time has really, really,
I know,
really
when
flown.
you're having fun, it goes by.
Yeah. Well, I would just like to say that, we know that Guru Nanak Dev Ji, the first Sikh, stood for so much, stood for the environment, stood for compassion, stood for equality, made all these stances. Now, this is a moment in time, because it's the new year, that you have a decision to make. How are you going to frame your next year? And we have literally taken every single value that Guru Nanak Dev Ji stood for. So they're all the gems and jewels inside of you. Patience, creativity, loyalty, you name it. So if I could have you just take a moment and maybe project forth for this new year, what is the one value inspired by Guru Nanak, which is all the values that you would see in the scriptures, right?
No, and what we see in your book.
Yeah, because it's all based on their values. What is it that you would want your next year to be? And I promise you that if you make that decision today, your year would look drastically different. If you take on any one, what would you suggest? What one would you take?
I'm afraid something that's not here.
Oh, go on.
Which is joy.
Oh, no, it is in there for Sri Lanka.
No, I didn't see it.
Sri Lanka.
Hold it. Right, show me. Where is it? Okay.
Yeah.
But anyway, sorry.
Yeah, no, don't worry.
I'm skimming.
Yeah.
So joy is very important, and this is also in the Japji. Sat Sohan Sada Man Chao. Because your truth, your beauty, you are, your truth, your beauty, your enduring joy. Sat Sohan Sada Man Chao. My mind is always ecstatic. And that's something we have forgotten. Beauty. When we come across beauty, something is beautiful, that ego, that self-centeredness, me, kind of dissolves, and you kind of become enraptured by something else. And I think that's what Guru Nanak really, that value of kind of being enraptured and working in this world. He was very, very enthusiastic. All the seva, langar, Yes. And so the first Sikh, if we just to kind of end with the first Sikh, he's the first Sikh because he really is. He's not following anybody. It was his own revelation. Number two, he was also aware he was doing something. He was founding something. So the institutions of the Guru, because he gave his guruship to his, who he called Angad, by limb of himself, part of his own body. He started the institution of seva. He started the institution of langar, which is really when you come.
Langar means like free food for everybody at all times from all gurdwaras, from all places of worship. And everyone is fed.
And the tradition was there in Sufism. I mean, langar was practiced by the Sufis, the Chishtiyas and so forth, and Guru Nanak was well aware of it. But if you look at it, I was looking at some scholar reading her work, and there's some kind of a difference because langar, you fast and then you have langar, and it's some for ascetics and some for other people. So there's some kind of variation this person is making, which is a Westerner, maybe she's wrong. But what I'm saying is langar here in this world, everybody sits on the floor. Everybody's equal, no head of the table, no tail of the table. Everybody's kind of sitting in rows and sharing their meal. And so this is kind of very important in a world where there was caste, class, even if the shadow of a low caste fell on your food, it was polluted.
So if we take just a moment before we go into the Q&A, close your eyes, think about the most radically brilliant year you could possibly have. What's the one value that you're going to embody? It could be joy, it could be humor, it could be creativity, it could be excellence. It brings me on to that value of Chardi Kala, which is like this ascending optimism that I think we really need right now, or hope. Whatever it is, really breathe that in, because that's what we're going to utilize to take shape our next year.